So you say the controller is like a midfielder that will help us take. So what the controller does basically is that it takes requests from the front end. It processes the request, validates the request, and if it needs to call the database, it will communicate with the model. And when it communicates with the model, it will get the result. So when I say model, just say it as the database. So it's communicating with the database because the controller does not. So the controller is not a storage system. It is the database that's our storage system. We have our data. But the controller is the one that is like a midfielder. So it takes the request from the front end, validates the request, processes the request. If need be, it calls the model, gets records from the model, and return it back to the front end. So that stuff is called. So the controller receives a request, a web request, processes it, and returns a response. Now that response can be in a web page response to the front end, data to web page response, or it can be in the form of API, which uses JSON. Basically, yeah. So when you see API, so you return in JSON. That's JavaScript Object Notation. That's the full acronym for JSON. Yeah. So I would say that for every controller, so this is a controller file. I would say to make a controller in Symfony. So the controller will be inside the source. So this is our Symfony project. So inside the source, there will be this controller. So all our controller will be in this folder. All our controller will be inside this folder. So we can have different folders inside this controller, but all your controller file must be in this controller folder. This is the rule for Symfony. And we said each of those controller must extend the abstract controller. So this is the parent controller. And this parent controller has properties. So it has properties that we may need later. You get so when you extend, it's like a child inheriting the gene of his father. So this is the child, this is the parent. Automatically, all the genes of this parent that are public or protected become inherited by this child. Yeah, so this child can have access to methods, functions, and logic of this parent. So what we are doing is that instead of us repeating codes over and over and over and over and over, we have the code here, and every controller can just have access to this parent controller code. So as I say, so if you look at this teacher controller, is extending the abstract controller. Same controller is also extending the abstract controller. So that's the rule. All controllers must extend the abstract controller, which is the parent controller. And to make a controller file in Symfony, the rule is PHP bin/console. So bin/console make controller. Yeah. Make controller. Then the name of the controller you want to make. Yeah. So if it's called like, so let's say so any controller I want to make it make controller here. So let me look for an entity, for example. And let's say I want to make a controller for
school.
Let's say session. So this should be called session controller.
Is it case sensitive?
Sir?
Is it case sensitive?
Yes. A class should start with a capital letter.
Okay.
Yes, then every new word you are joining together should be capital letter, so it can be easy to read.
Okay.
So this is more easy to read. Okay, let me see. So this one or this one, which is more easy to read? So this or this is more easy to pronounce.
The one capital letters.
Exactly. So every word you are adding should be capital letters. So you can say, okay, this is session controller. But with this, you don't know where the next word is added to. It's like everything is just lumped together in one set. So why a class should start with a capital letter? That's the rule. Then every other word you are adding should be capital letters. That should be easy for someone to just read. Okay, this is session class controller. So you can see this student class now. The S is capital letter. This class, because this class is another word, we're starting with a capital letter also. So student class. So this is the code to make the controller. You want this code. Symfony will locally create for you a controller with default, like so you're gonna give you a default template already extending the abstract controller, which is like the parent controller. So good. So Symfony has created the controller for us, and this is it here in our code. You can see, so this is the session controller I just ran just now, and this is the default code that Symfony will give. It will extend the abstract
controller.
Is a must. And now, so the next thing we'll do is we'll talk about routing. I'll talk about routing the last week. I don't know if I don't know if I'm sure that was so routing is just that. Yeah, I think you're the one who discuss routing. So routing is just okay. So this controller will have logics basically. But these logics, so let me just show you something. So these logics will not run automatically. This logic will only be triggered when certain conditions are met. So like, for example, this is a function in the controller. So it's like a logic, and it holds this many codes inside. The logic can hold like lots of line of code. But by default, this logic just run by itself. So like I said, remember, the controller will wait for a request to come in first before it processes and gives you the response. So now this is the link to the request that the user will hit for this code to be run. So when the user hits this /10 on our browser, the system will come beneath and run everything between these open brackets and close brackets.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
my colleagues are disturbing me here. Can I close the one there, Joe?
So for this teacher now, for all this teacher code to process, this /teacher route, we must hit this /teacher route. Okay. So as soon as we come to this route, as soon as on our browser, as soon as we are browsing, let's see. Okay, let me start my Symfony server. Let me see. So let me start Symfony server. So let me start Symfony server. I think it's PHP-X. I'm not trying to start the Symfony server on this port. Yeah, so it started. Let me copy this stuff. Create my browser. Paste. I'm not trying to access my local browser. So I've accessed my local browser now. Now I want this local browser to process this session which we just created now. We just created this called session now, for example, which we just created now. Now I want you to access this session. For you to access this session, so let's say I'm putting here echo and echo and that, and I'm putting here die.
Okay.
So then, okay, let me not even put that. Let me use DD. So let me just put DD at that. So DD means
Echo and die.
Yes, DD means dump and die. So what it means is that it will echo what is the logic in there, and it will kill the code for processing further. So let me assume I'm echoing this is our session controller. So let me assume I'm echoing this stuff here. This is controller. Now what do I need to do here for this stuff to run is that I must add this /session in my route. So for me to run this stuff, I must take this route on top of it here. I'll copy it and I'll paste it after my development server name. So my development server is 127.0. So this one refers to your domain name. So when you go to www.google.com, that is your domain name, or facebook.com, but anything outside that domain name, you just say /something. So you are hitting an endpoint. Because on production, this will change to your domain name. But because we're in development, this is our development server URL. But as soon as you buy a domain, we'll configure this domain name to now become our www. Whatever name we're using. So if I hit on this last session, because this last session now matches with this last session here, remember they must match the same word for word. They must match. As soon as it matches, Symfony will come and run this code below it. So does it make sense?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Makes sense, have you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
No, it don't make sense. Oh.
It doesn't make sense.
No, my
Okay,
cousin was disturbing me just that she was crying.
Okay. So the stuff we're saying, but you remember how we created the controller now?
Yes.
Yes. So we're saying that so every controller will have what is called a route. Yeah. So every controller has what's called a route. So a route is like when you are okay, so let me show you a route. So let me show you a route. So let's go to let's go to vanguard.com. Or let's use Punch newspaper. Let me open Punch newspaper. So this is Punch newspaper. Let me show you Punch newspaper. So let's use Punch as an example. Okay, so good. So now this is Punch newspaper, right? You know Punch now.
Yes.
So this Punch newspaper. Now this is our website. If you see this stuff now, so then let me show you something now. So this www.http:/punchng.com. This is the domain name, and this stuff is the same as our 127 dots. So this stuff is our domain name, but because we are developing locally, we don't need a domain name yet. It's when we're not going to production that we'll go and buy a domain name. So this part is the same as this part here. So this is the domain name. Now, let me now show you what is a route. So this page is reading the index page, which is like a slash page. So if you put a slash here, for example, it will still load the same page because it's the first page that you're hitting. That's like the home page. Now when you now click on, so let's click on this stuff now. So let me click on one news, and let's see. Now let's see news, for example. Now this stuff we're seeing now. So you see this is going to slash. It's adding this slash to the domain name. So let me show you another news again. So you see this thing now. This one is slash patronized made in Nigerian product only this Nigeria. This one is NCC plan. So this thing is changing. It's not the same. It's changing. So let me open that news again and let's see on that news. You see Quara band. So this one will also change again. Quara band. But one thing is the same. Their domain name is the same.
The same.
Yeah, all of them has the same domain name.
Domain name.
It is fetching from the same domain, but just that it is calling different points in the domain. You understand? Yes. So because this is a WordPress, what they do basically is that it's just picking the title of the page basically. So they have a route. So this is a WordPress. Basically, I think this should be a WordPress site. Or if it's not a WordPress site, what you can do if I'm doing this stuff with Symfony. So I think it's a WordPress site using a palm link basically. But if you're doing this stuff with Symfony, it should be something like this. So we have the domain name. So let's say we have the domain name called http / let's say for example, I'm in production / punch ng.com. Then because I know this after this is static, right? We agree now. This will never change for all everything else. It's always there. It doesn't change. So what changes after? So what I would then do is that I will now put something like this. So this is like a variable. I will say page title. You get. So this page title, because it's a variable, it will always be changing. Now, so this is matching to whatever they are passing from here. This is the title of the page. Yeah, this is the title of the page. The title of the page. And from this title, I will get the title you've passed, and I'll go to my database and see if I have a news with that title. If I have a news with that title, I'm going to fetch it and give it to you. If there's no news without title, it's going to so it will show a 404 page error. Now let's try something. Now let's assume I copy this link here, I paste it here, and I added something about ability to it, which I know they don't have on their domain on their database. So let's see what we have. Let me put on enter. You can see it brought
404.
page not found.
Mm.
So there's no on the database, there's no title or there's no page that has the title of this.
Mm.
Yeah. Just a minute, please. Just a minute, I beg. So that has the title of this. Yeah, here. But if it doesn't have, it will bring you a 404 error, meaning that the page you are looking for does not exist.
Does
So
not
it's a
exist.
mistake. Yeah. But if it has, if I remove this stuff now, it will give me the page because it exists. Yeah. If I remove the arrow from it, now instead of sector, and I remove the arrow, it will bring me 404 error. Oh, it's still bringing this in. Okay, so it's taking it to it's adding the arrow to it automatically. Yeah, it's forcing me to add the arrow automatically. But if I put a double arrow, let's see, a triple arrow, it's only 404 error.
404 error.
Yeah, so what this stuff is doing is that you are sending a request to the web server that I need this page on this domain called so and so punchengine.com. I need the page with the title sector NCC plans consumers focus reform for telecom. So I need this page. It will go fetch it for you and give it to you. So that is so you sent a request to the web server. So the web server will process it and see, first of all, is that request even valid? Then next of all, okay, is valid. Do I even have what this person is asking for? If I don't have it, it will be a 404 error. Yes, but if I have it, I'll return it back.
And now it's picking it from the database.
Yes. So, but on our project, to the people in the database. But on this stuff, yeah, it's speaking for database, basically. Yeah, basically. Speaking of database, yeah. Correct. So that is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So exactly. So the same thing we're doing here that we're trying to get. So for on our side, but we were not using the name of the newspaper. We are using for you to process this stuff here. For you to process this stuff here, we have to put this last session to our endpoints. So you see, this is our. So let me close this punch. So this is our domain name. This is our domain name, which is because we're in local development, we use this domain name. Then this will be the slash session we are adding. Now, when you add slash session, Symfony will first of all look through all your controllers. So let's take it step by step. This controller, did it have anything like slash session in this controller?
No.
Exactly. So Symfony will say the request should not be processed by this controller. It will go to the next one. Is there anything by slash session in this controller?
No.
Okay, good. Because this is slash 10. This one is slash teacher. This one is slash 10. So Symfony will now come. Is there anything like slash session in this controller?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So Symfony now say, oh, you are trying to speak to this method. So you are saying you want to send a request to this, sorry. I mean that you want to send a request to this controller method. Okay, I have seen a method that matches with what you are looking for. The Symfony will now go and process the logic behind after this route. So this thing is called a routing. You are mapping your link, your URL route to a Symfony logic that will process it. So as soon as Symfony sees that, oh, this thing you have here is there, to now run what is here. And what I've said should run is that enter into this method, dump echo, this is our session controller. Don't show it on the screen and terminate it. Don't process further. So let's see. So let me run this now on this stuff now. It's trying to process now. So you can see. So this you can see it on our screen now. That is showing. Let me increase it a bit. You can see this is our session controller. And
but why is it saying session controller.php online 14?
Yes, good. So it's telling you that because I did dump and die, it's a debug tool. So it's telling you that this die is happening on this on this file
On that. Okay.
on line 14. On line 14, there was an instruction that says it should dump and die the code. So let's look at it now. So session controller PHP on line 14. So the file is named session controller PHP, and on line 14, I said it should terminate the code and echo DD. So it's telling you that this command to key the code called session controller.php file and on line 14. You understand? Which doesn't say
So does Symfony always dump its controller information?
Yeah, no. So it's we just trying to look at debug it.
Okay.
So this is wrong. In production, you don't dump and die.
Okay.
In production, you will never use this code. Though.
Okay.
So it's just for me to just show Ada that this is the file that is processing that request. But I could also use something like this. Instead of using dump and die, I could also use echo.
Okay.
Echo and just click it down. It's the same thing.
But we put the bracket.
I'll remove the bracket exactly. I'll remove the bracket. So echo and just die here. So it's the same thing I will get. So let me refresh it. Yeah, so you can see now that this is our session class.
Okay.
It echoes this class, it echoes this stuff, and it stopped the processing on line 15. It didn't go for that. So that is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And no, ask a question. Anything you feel you don't understand or anything you feel. So just know that what we're doing here is that we're mapping. So, like for example, if you want this code to run, you have to take it to /teacher. So you remove this section here, and you put a /teacher here. Then it will run this logic here.
Okay.
If you want the term to run, we'll remove the teacher and we'll put the term here. Put the term here, and it will come here. It will look for the mapping that has the /10. So it will come here and say this is session. This is not term. This is teacher. This is not term. It will come. Oh, this is term, and it will say it will run this code. Everything here. You understand?
Yes.
Please, let's run it and see. I want to see what we appear.
Sir? Okay, let's run this one. Okay, fine.
Yes,
Yeah,
I want to see what we appear.
So it will appear as JSON. So let's run it. Yeah, so this is JSON.
Okay.
So you can see it maps to. So this is message. Welcome to my new controller and the paths. This is what we have here. Message.
Okay.
Controller and the paths.
JSON.
You see it now. Okay. Yeah, and this is called JSON. So this you create an endpoint that. So a JSON is just like an endpoint that other application can consume basically. Exactly. Okay. So other application can consume. Yeah, exactly. So can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. Da, can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hey,
proceed.
So I should proceed. Permission to proceed. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the next thing we talked. Okay, that's fine. So the next thing we talked about yesterday was, last week was we talked about a constructor. I'm saying the constructor is a method that will always run before the class before the class processing completes. There's a method that will always run by default before the class processing completes. So let's look at it basically. So this is a constructor basically. So the constructor is called public function underscore construct. So this is a method. And this method must always run when this class is created. So anytime you want to use this class, this method must always run. And I will prove it to you that it always run. Now, if this class is not there, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's not there, it's not there. But if it's there and it has some code in it, those logic must run first before you can, even if you are calling this session, it must pass through this stuff here. It's a must. So before it gets to this session, it will pass through this constructor method first, then it will not get to this session and say, okay, process the session further. And let me show you that it is to pass through there. So let's echo something here and key the code. Echo class. Let me echo class gateway, and let me die it here. So I want to prove to you that though I am calling the session, I'm calling the session logic, which is to process this stuff. But because it's passing through this stuff, it's going to key this code at this point and not get to this particular session. Although it wants to get to this point, but because this is like the entry point to the class, and I've killed the code here with the die method, it's going to echo this, kill it here, and not proceed to this point. So let me show you the same story. Remember when we do this stuff? Okay, so just a minute. Let me comment out this stuff. Let me move it out. Let me comment it out and call the session. So let me go back and call the session. Yeah, let's review the session. Let's see what will happen. Let's make this session. So
okay.
Yeah, so this is our session controller now. So let me zoom it a bit down. So this is our session controller now. It's calling from. So it just tells you the path is getting the controller from, and this is the front end. So don't worry about that. For now, we're working on the controller. Later, we'll come and look at how you pass data to the front end, which is like your template. So now yes. So now you see it's working well. So let me go back and add a die method here. Let me go back and put a die method here and refresh this stuff. Let's see what will happen. So this is one. This is our old script, which is working well. Now I've added a die method to the constructor. So let me see now. And you can see it has stopped here. That's gateway. It didn't process further. You understand? It didn't process further because why? Although it wants to get to this point, this is like you saying they invited you for a party. You want so this is your table number for the party. This is where you want to sit down in the party. But before you get to the party, you must pass through the bouncer that will check your IV. So even if they invited you to the party, but you forgot your invitation card, the bouncer will not let you in. So do you get the concept?
Yes.
So yes, you are permitted. This is your table. This is where you want to sit down, but this is where you want to sit down. You are valid, but because you forgot to come with your IV, this bouncer will not let you go. So this bouncer is like a check. It's a check that runs. Make sure that okay, everybody is valid to enter to go to the source. So this is like your first method that will run. I'm not trying to break it down to the lowest level who can start. So this will run before you meet any other method in the class. You must. You must pass through this class. So then what is this class used for, basically? So this class is used to, if there are some times that we may need some important files that our class will use later. So we can load them because this class is the entry point, like our entry point to our class. This method the entry to our class. We can load important files that we will need for that class to function very well in this method. So we can instantiate properties that particular class will need to function. So let me give an example. This session controller will need a session model class so that it can easily communicate with the session database to get record as regards what is this session, what is the current session we are currently. Because currently now this session controller does not even know the current session we are in our school.
Okay.
And it needs to know. So how does it know? Or how do we want to know? We need to find a way to bring the session model, which we created earlier, into this controller so that it can now know, we are currently in 2024 2025 session. Because it is database that knows which session we are currently. But the controller does not know. And the controller need to know because the front end may want to ask the controller. So there will have to be a way to bring the model and the controller together so that the controller can easily talk to the model with ease. There'll be like a seamless communication between the two. So at that point, we can do it here. So we can load all the classes we need for that class to function well. Like for example, one class that this controller needs to function well is that it needs the session model. It needs access to the session model to function very well. Because queries may come that requires which session we are currently, which session is active. So these are the questions that the controller, remember the controller is a mid feeder. It has to have, so it has to play some critical positioning. So in our case, it has to answer some critical questions that the front end is asking. So now, what we'll do now is that we'll load the session entity or the session repository into this class so that we can query our database. So how do we do that? Now, so this is the class, and I want to load. So I said the simple way to do it is to just in between these brackets. So this bracket stands for we trying to pass in argument or parameters into this bracket. So what we can do is that we can create something here. So I'll say private. So when I say private, it means that so there are three types of visibility basically. There's the private, there's the protected, and there's the public. The private means that it can only be accessed, it can only be used by this class.
Okay.
The protected means that it can be used by this class and any class that extends it. Like so, it can be used by that same class, and classes that extend that class can have access to that protected. The public is that it can be used by any class, anywhere, it can be used anywhere in the file. But because I'm following strict rule, I'm going to make it private. So this method I want to create now will only be used by this session controller class. This term teacher class cannot use that. So it's only this session that can use what I'm trying to create now. So it's like a privacy. Exactly. So private. Then I'll put I know so what class I need a class called. So from here now, so what is the class that we need here now? Because we're working with the session controller, we need this session file.
Yes, session file.
Yeah. So
session.php.
What I'll do is that I'll type in session here. So you can see it will load it for me. What exactly do you want the session? So I need the session because now remember the entity contains the structure of your database, like the flow, the logic, the structure, but the repository allows you to query data. Remember, I told you that Symfony will create a file for you. It will create the entity file and the equivalent repository.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we need, because we're querying the session entity, we will need a session repository because this repository is not connecting to our entity. So you see the way Symfony works. Symfony connects to the repository connects to the entity. This is that. So Symfony controller will connect to the repository when it wants to query. So I mean query, when it wants to get information. When it wants to get information from the database, it will connect to the repository. Then the repository will then connect to the entity. So what we need now is that we need this session repository.
Repository.
Exactly. I'll put session repository. So what I've done is that, so you can see now, so I need a copy of this. So what I'm telling Symfony is that I need a copy of this session repository file, and the visibility of this file should be private, meaning that it should only be accessible on this session controller file. And I want to store this file in the session repository variable. Finish.
Okay.
So finish. So I've loaded this file now into my controller, into this class. As simple as that. So I've said Symfony, I need this session repository, and it should be private, meaning that it should only be accessible on this controller. And I need it to be loaded into this variable called session repository. So everything on this class will be loaded into this variable called session, and it will be accessible in this entire class. So
Okay.
this is what we call dependency injection. You are injecting a class into another class. You are bringing a class in a file into another class that needs that class, because this session controller requires this session repository to function properly,
Okay.
because there's some data in this session that it needs to get. So we're saying that before this class loads up, make sure you fetch this. Because remember, it will run this function first before it goes to it. So while running it first, get the session repository and load it into the class.
Okay.
And that is it clear?
Yes.
No. Do you have any questions? Ask a question.
Adas network is failing.
Sir?
I said,
Ada, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Are you sure?
Adas network is failing, seriously. You
Okay.
know, it's having an emphasis now.
Okay. So basically, I'm just trying, don't worry. By after this class, I'll make all the videos available so we can just go through it at our time. Exactly. So that's what it means now. So with this stuff now, we now have access to our session repository in our controller, which is beautiful. Now, I want to get, instead of making this in session, I'll call it sessions. So X. So remember, if I change it to sessions and I'm trying to read session here, what will happen at that? Remember, here is
It will be a 404.
sessions. Exactly. Here is sessions and here is session. The name does not match. If I try to get it, it will bring a 404 error that it cannot find that route, because I've changed our controller method to sessions and I'm still calling session. So you can see it's telling you that. So you can see the 404 error. 404 error not found. It says it's trying to get this session, but it could not see it. Not found exception. So you throw this error out of it, that it could not see this page. Because why? I have changed it from session to sessions. So remember, the name must match exactly. So if I want this to process now, I need to add the X to it, which is come back here, put an X here, and put sessions. So there you see it now. It now loads up that it has seen it. See it now. It has seen it. So what do we need next now? Now let's now get. So I want to get all the sessions in all the sessions we have in our database, basically. So how do I get that? Now remember, we've loaded our entity file into
Our repository.
Yes, our repository, into our control. So we'll have access to get all our information as regards the session now. Comfortable with ease. We can get it with ease now without worrying ourselves. So then how do we do this? Now, if I want to get all the session in our school, in our application, what I need to do is that I'll just put a session, which is a variable. So session, remember this is me creating a variable called sessions, is equals to, now for me to access this, because this is a variable we have in our class and it's private. For me to access it, I must use this keyword, because this points to a variable or a variable property or a method inside this class. So I'll use this, then I'll put the angle button, then I'll choose session repository. So you can see it now. It's now pointing me to this session repository. Then I'll put find all. Now I'll explain this stuff for you now, don't worry. So find all. So let me do stuff. So what am I saying here? I'm saying so I'm saying this session is me trying to say I am trying to access this variable. Remember, this variable contains our session repository. Remember.
Open that window. Out of this room. You get? So I'm trying to access this variable, and so because I've accessed this repository, I have access to find. So I have this command called find all, which will give me all the session in our database. So let's look at it now. So let's save this, and I'm saying dump it and die. So let's see what is in our database. Let me refresh this stuff. And let's see. Oh, good. So you said, oh, good. So you know where this thing is coming from? I've not started my XAMPP server. So let me start my XAMPP server. Yeah. I need to start my XAMPP server. Let me start that. That's why it's getting the error. So it's trying to connect my database, but I can't see it. So I will not start my Apache because Symfony has its own Apache server. I will only start the XAMPP server. Yeah, which I've done now. So let me try again. Good. So you can see it has given me, so it tells me that I have 3 records in my session entity. So it starts with 0, 1, 2. So for the first record, I have session ID 1, 2023, 2024 session is not active, is false. Then the second session, I have ID 2, 2024, 2025 session, which is active is set to true, meaning that this is our active session. And I have the last one, which is 2024, 2025, which is set to false as active. So this is, because this is true, this is our current active session. So you can see with this command now, our controller can now get a list of all the sessions we have in our database. And that, does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because you are smiling. So you can see now. So you can see that we just,
Yes.
first of all, we loaded our repository into this stuff. Then we now access this dot repository. So we're trying to tell you that we're accessing this repository, this dot repository, find all. This will give you, because this repository is mapped. Remember I told you, Symfony, session controller will map to session repository, will now map to our session entity. Now this find all command will list all the sessions we have in our database, and to give you like this. So now our controller now have access to get information from our database. So remember, so there's one command which is called the find all. So this find all will give you all the records in your database. So this find all returns all database, all record in our entity, basically. So to give you all record in your entity, find all. We are bringing all, give me all the record. So we have another one. So let me comment this out. So let's take it one by one. So we have the second one called find. So this one is find. So find. Then this find will return the particular search, search ID. Yeah, search ID, which is like a primary key. So let's go. So let me show you this one now. So this is now session. Remember, we're still getting everything from this repository. This repository is one interfacing with. So anytime this controller wants to get anything from the database, it must pass through this repository. It's a must. It must pass through the repository. It can't go. So the controller cannot bypass the repository. So you see it now. So to say this dot session repository dot find. Now instead of find all, I'll find. Then I'll pass the ID of what I want to find. I want to find 1, for example.
Okay.
So it means that then I'll make here session. So what I'm saying is that I want to find a record that has the ID of 1. So this one is find all. This will give you all. But this find will give you your particular search ID you're looking for. I'm looking for all of them. I'm looking for the ID with just 1. So let's refresh. Let's see. So you can see it just brought just 1. Just ID of 1. So let's make it 2. Let's change this to 2. You can see that changed to 2 now. Let's change this to 3. So this is 3 now. Now let's make it 4. Remember, we don't have 4 in we don't have 4. We only have 1, 2, 3. We'll use the 5. But But let's make it 4. Let's see what will happen.
Give us a 404.
No, it will give us a null.
Enough.
Yes, give us a null, meaning that it could not see. So it
Four
could not
data.
see. Yes, it could not see. 404 is when it comes to the controller side of things. But now we're working with the entity side of things. So
Side, okay.
if entity does not see anything, it's going to give you a null value.
Value.
Yes, or an empty array. But because we're checking for an entity and element, it's going to give us a null, meaning that this null means that I could not see an ID with the value, and I could not see any record with an ID of 4. Therefore, I'm bringing you a null empty value back. Does it make sense?
Yes, well, and everything that we are seeing is still on the back end.
Yes, back end. Yeah, from the back end.
Okay.
So let me just show you the back end. So you see the back end. Let me just do a connection to the back end. So table plus. Let me create a new connection. Or I did let me just create a new. I did a cleanup. And let me put localhost. Port. So port is always 3306 for database. And this is 127.0.0.1. This is root. That's my root user. My password is empty. Let me paste my connection. Yeah, it's fine. Net. Good. And reach 100K. Let's go back. Let's go down. And you can see session. So we have just 3 records in there. So this is my database now. We have just 3 sessions. 1, 2, 3. You can see it. So we don't have a 4. So let me assume that I now added a 4 to it. So let's add a new record. And let's make it a 4. And let's make this 4 2027. I'll make it 0. Let me add this to it also. Add this to it also. Save this. And refresh this stuff. So now before it was showing null, but now I've added a record of 4, right? Yeah, so let's refresh. Let's see. So you can see it now has 4 records now. It now has a record of 4. Yeah. So you see that. So you can see who is interacting with our database for us with ease. So it's making sense, right?
Yes.
Is it making sense?
No.
Is it making sense?
No.
Is
I
that
don't
making
understand.
sense? Okay.
No, I don't understand.
Okay, good. So where don't you understand?
I know before it was showing no now.
Yes,
And now it's
good.
showing it.
Good. So it's showing. So this is my database. This is our application. Now, this application is interacting with the database. Now, before I didn't have a record of 4. Okay, like for example, now let me show you. For example, let me make this 5. So let me make this 5. For example, I'll make this 5. Now it's showing. So let's see. It's showing null here, right?
Yes.
And let me show you why it's showing null here, because on this our database, we don't have a record of 5. Is there a record of 5 here? There's no record of 5 here. Now I went to my database and I created a record of 5, saying now I want to create a record from. So this is my database server. This is my web server. But these two are communicating. So the web server is fetching record from this place. This is where the records are coming from. This answer is coming from Magic. So this is where the records are coming from as regards to session. So remember, why the session controller, and the session controller is interacting with the session repository, which is coming to this session table and getting the record from this session table. So I said, okay, fine. I want to create a new record called 5. So now I added a new row. I added a new row. I added 5. And I made it 2027 now.
28.
Professor said, good morning, 2027, 2028. Then I made here is not active. Huh? Then paste this here, and I save it. So my question is, do we have 5 now?
Yes.
Yes, we have 5 now, right? Good. Now, if I go back to this stuff now, what should come out here now? Because we don't have 5, it should give me the record of 5, right?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
We agree now.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now that's why I say when I refresh this stuff now, I'm not getting a record of 5. So I'm proving to you that this program and this database are in sync. They are communicating together now fully. Whatever happens here, happens here.
Mhm.
Whatever update you do here, it's seen here automatically. Do you get?
Yes, sir.
Provided it
So,
is called from the repository, right?
sir?
Provided it is called from the repository.
Exactly. It must come from the repository. It must go in the repository. You get?
Yes.
Aha, exactly. So I'm just proving to you that the two are in sync. Now, so you remember we did. So if I comment this out now, this session, and I put this session here now, for example, and I make this end. So what will happen now? That let me see. So I'm not
Sir,
using this. So what will happen now? I'm saying
what?
this session repository find all. So what will happen here at this
It
point?
will bring out all those.
Beautiful. So it will bring out all the record. Now let me now prove to you that bring out all the record. Beautiful. So if I refresh this stuff now, so we're gonna see 5 record. We will see 5 record here. So you can see now it has 0, 1, 2, 3,
2,
4.
3, 4.
It matches to. So it sees the first
Five.
record as 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me expand it. So this is ID number 1, ID number 2, ID number 3, ID number 4, and ID number 5, which they
Sorry,
match
why?
exactly.
Sorry, why is it counting from 0?
Yes, so it's an array. It's an array. It's bringing as an array.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
and for an array, the first element is always 0.
0. Okay.
So it's wrap all the record as an array and give it to you as an array. So we will not be the one to look through the array and get the ID.
Mhm.
This is 1, this is 2. So you can see this record here matches exactly what we have here. So you can see the repository is communicating directly with our database table. And the controller is using that repository connection to get access. So the controller, remember, the controller does not know access to the database. It is through this repository that the controller is using to manipulate to get data from our database. So without this repository, the controller will not be able to access this database.
Mhm.
You get so exactly. So don't so that's so I'm also asking the question that so if I comment at this and I put okay this yes today now me and you get to do. So if I put 2 here, for example, if I put 3 here, what will happen? 3 here. So
to
remember,
bring
I'm not
only
using
two.
good. It will not bring only 3 because we're finding now. Well, instead of this one, why this one is finding all? This one is finding a particular ID. So to bring only 3. So let's refresh this. Let's see. So to bring. So let's see. To bring only 1 record and it will be 3 exactly. So the ID
Oh,
of see it now. So it just brought out the ID with the ID of 3, which is
3.
2026, boss, date, and is it now? Yeah, good. So this is the second one. So remember, we have the find all, which will give you all the record. You have the find, which will give you the find with the ID. So let's go. So there are 4. Well, I want to look at today. Then we have the next one, which is the find by. So what do we mean by find by? So the find by is, so let me put a comment and let me say find by. Find by, yeah. So this will give you returns. Oh, just a minute, please. Yeah, so the find by will return so just a minute, please. So the find by will return all the record that matches with the parameters that we're going to put. So now, let's say, for example, that if I look at this stuff and I tell you, sir, everybody now, I said, please give me which section is active in this database. Which section is active in this database? So which one? So which of these sessions is active here? Let's look at
Session
it.
2.
Sir?
Session 2.
Session 2, right? Ada, do you agree?
Yes, I said 2024.
Sorry?
Yes, session 2 now.
Why is it active?
2024/2025.
Yes, I'm asking why is it why is that active?
Oh, I guess because maybe by 2024.
No, not that.
Why?
Then
It
I'm
is
asking
true.
you now. Why? So Mr. Ogo, why is it active?
It is set as true. It's the one that is 1.
Exactly. So if you look at others are 0, 0, 0,
Okay.
0. One that has 1. So you get others are
Oh.
0. Yeah, others are false. So
And we cannot have two
in computer, 1 represents true, 0 represents false. You get so
And we cannot have two active data.
so don't look at the dates now. Just leave the dates we are correctly.
Is it possible to have two active?
So
In a session.
on our code, we'll make it impossible to have two active.
Okay.
So before you make, so let's say for example, before I make 2025, 2026 session active, I must deactivate every other active session
24.
first.
Okay.
You get and make only that session active because it's not possible to have two active sessions at a particular time now.
Mm-hmm.
You see it now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So those are the logics we'll put in place on our code side of things. You get on our code side of things. Yeah. So now let's hit. So now I want to get now let's say for example now first of all I don't want to get all the record in my database. Number one, I don't want to get a particular ID. Now I want to get only the active session.
Session.
Yes, only the active session. Now my front end is asking the controller, give me the active session. What is the active session? Which session? I want to get just the active session. Now, how can I do that? So what I need to do is that I need to find a way to tell my controller, to tell my repository to give me just the active session. So what it means that I need to pass some parameters in there for the controller to know what exactly I'm looking for. So that is where the find by comes in. So the find by will pass in some parameters I want to search, and it will help us search for it and return the result. So it will return all results. To return all table results. Table results that matches our parameter search. So let's look at it now. So now let's look at it. Let's look at it critically. So let me look at this and see. So this session is equals to okay. Let me know current session now. Current session. Remember, this is a variable. Current session is equals to. Now I want to get the current session. This dot session repository. Remember, I'll say find by. Remember, I'm finding by. So I'm finding by some parameters. So I'll find by. So find by. Now, in these parameters, I'm going to add some. What I want to find by. I'm going to add the name of the column and the value to find by. So I'll put find by is active, then is equals to 1.
Okay.
So you see it now. I've said
must it be equals to?
Yes. So this is an array.
Okay.
So this is the key of the this is the key of the array. This is the value, and this key of the array must match with Symfony column data type. Why? This is the value I want to search. So remember, in Symfony, this is active maps to capital is underscore small letter A maps to capital letter A. Remember now?
Mm-hmm.
So Symfony sees this capital letter as underscore active. So I've mapped this to this, and I've said where this is name of the column, which I've mapped to Symfony standard, and I've said the value must be 1.
1.
Exactly. So now let's look at what Symfony will do for us now. So let's look at what Symfony will do for us now. So let's go back. Let's acquire this current session and see. But so said you come a little bit late, but don't worry, Sha. I will make all the videos available today, immediately after the class. So you definitely catch up. So basically, what we're doing is that we're just trying. So we don't need the controller. We're trying to see how to from the controller get data from database passing through our repository.
All right.
No, we'll make everything available for after the class.
All right. Thank you very much.
So we missed you last week.
Sincerely, not be only last week, at least like last month, I missed class like 2 or 3 times.
No worry, I will make all the video available after immediately after this class.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, okay, no problem. So let's look at it now. So now what I'm saying is that this is stuff now. So let's see the session to give us now. So it has brought out just one record. And that one record is the active session, which is 2024, 2025. Now let me prove to you that it is not bringing, like Ada said, it's because it's 2024. No, that's not true. So let me make this 0, so I made it false, and let me make this 1. So which session will you bring out now? Ada?
2027. Yes, my mouth.
Ada, you are muted though.
Similar like that 5.
It's bring out 5. I mean, why will you bring out 5?
Because 5 is active.
Exactly. So let's refresh it now. So let's see what's bringing out. You see it now. It brings out 5. It brought out 5 because the active is true. You get it exactly. So remember, the active is active. It's not because we're in 2024. No, it's looking at database. The database does not know time. It's looking at and say, okay, on the active column, which one has the value of 1? Now remember, so exactly. So remember, we said that it will bring out all, not the first one. So now let me now show you something. So let's assume I make this 1 also, which we know like it is wrong, but we're just assuming. So we have just one active session. But let's just play with our code. Now, if I run this code now, so I'm trying to save this stuff now. Let me save it. Let me save it. So what will come out here?
I didn't hear you say what's the question.
Okay, my question is, so we're telling you to find all the record that has an active of 1. And I'm saying, looking at this code, what will be our output? So this is the code. These are database. So which record will the repository return?
Only 5. 5 and 2.
Beautiful. 5 and 2. You see it now because it matches this criteria. Beautiful. 5 and 2. So let's refresh. Let's see. So you can see that it has seen 2 records that matches that criteria. So what are the 2 records? Let's see the 2 records. The first one is 2, and the second one is 5. So okay, so how about if I say where it's 0 now? So which record will it see? So let's see. Let's go back. Let me put it side by side so we can see it. So what will be returned?
1, 3, and 4.
Mr. Ogo, I don't become programmer.
I don't become programmer. I don't want to talk again.
So you
I want to listen
now.
to that.
Exactly. So you see it now. It's bringing it at 1, 3, and 4. This is not difficult. It's not difficult. It's just if you just settle down and go through this and over and over, you see that it's not difficult. You see it now. She's bringing 1, 3, and 4 because 1, 3, and 4 matches our search criteria where active is 0.
0.
You see it now. So for this, remember we have the find all. We have the find all, which will give us all the all the record in our database. Just a minute, let me until it for my guy. I'm coming to the
Okay. No.
Okay. Sorry, Jerry. I just need to put. Thank you. Let me concentrate. So remember, we have the find. Hope I'm muted. I'm audible, now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so okay, yeah, thank you, Jerry. So we have the find all. The find all will give you all the records in your entity, all of them. None of his business. The find will give you the particular ID are passing through. And then we have the find by which we can add parameters to it and give it to give you all the records that pass through. Then the last one we'll be doing today is the find one by. So the find by is almost the same with the find one by. The only difference is that it will give you the first criteria that matches. While the find by will give you all the criteria that matches. The find one by will give you the first one that matches. So let's see the difference. I'm going to use the same thing also, and use instead of using the find by. So let me comment out this find by. I'm going to use the find one by. It returns the first. So instead of all, remember the find by will return all. The find one by will return the first table result or record that matches our so instead of find by, I'll put a find one by. So now that looking at this stuff I've said, the find one by that it gives you the first that matches. Now also looking at this same record, what do you feel would be our output here? What do you feel be our
Please
output
come
here?
again. Come again.
Okay, so looking at, so I've said, so we've changed from the find by, which will give us every record that matches that particular search parameters that we're using, which is active is 0, to find one by. I would say the find one by is that it's almost the same as the find by. The only difference is that instead of giving you all the record, it will give you the first record that match, just the first. I'm not saying now, I've changed it to that find one by, is active is 0. What will be which record will be returned back to our application from the database using this parameter, this as a case study, which will be returned back. Sorry.
One.
Mr. Ogo, so officially Ada is a programmer.
Now that is a programmer. Now because a programmer.
So you see it now. So it's 1. So it will return 1. You can see it now. It will return 1 for you. Because 1 is the first one that matched the criteria. How about if I make this 1, and so I'm putting the record side by side. So what will be returned here?
2.
Beautiful. So you see, there's no
Oh.
rocket science. Beautiful. So you can see 2 is the first one. So it's going to return 2. So let me refresh it here. It return 2. So you can see now our application is communicating with our database with ease, but it's communicating it through the repository. You can see that just with this line of code, we have access to all the data in our database that concerns this session, just with one line of code. So you can see the way programming is easy. Just with this line of code, you can easily get record from our session table, basically. So by default, Symfony has 4 search criteria for us, or first search methodology. We have the find all, you have the find by, and you have the find one by. Now, if there's anything you want to do, let's say you want to do some complicated data processing, then we are allowed to go to our repository. So I can go to this Symfony repository, for example. Let me just give an example, and I can say I want to now write complicated query, because Symfony understands that sometimes you want to write complicated query. So I can also write my own complicated query in this project. So let me give an example. Let me say I want to write a query: public function get all students that failed mathematics in SS1. So now this is a method that I will write. I will now write all the queries. I'll write my SQL query in here. Remember, the repository is for querying the database. So all your queries, all your getting records should come in the repository. Now, as soon as I write all my queries here, I'll connect to the database, I'll put the records, I'll get it here. If I want to access this method from the controller, all I need to do is just, instead of now putting this find by, I'll just remove this, and I'll just put get, and to come out for me, get all students, and I'll get to the record. But here will contain all my SQL query to go to database and fetch all the students that failed maths for a particular class and a particular subject. For example, I'm not saying. So what it means is that if in case you want to add some extra logic, the repository also allows you to create. You are the developer. So by default, it gives you 4 easy logic: find all, find one by, find, and find by. But in case you want to run some complicated query also, you can put all your query here, and the repository will just simply process it for you and give you the result. But at that point, you will not be the one to manually put in those queries. You create a method, you put those queries, and from your controller, because you have access to this file, any file you put, any method you put in here become accessible automatically in this repository. So you can get it directly and just use it. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes. It's making sense. It's making sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you can see, so what we've done is that, first of all, we started with creating our mapper for our database. Our mapper had entity classes, which contain the database structure and also the repository. Now, then we now start, then this class now, we imported our repository into our controller, so that our controller can easily get records, because our controller is like a midfielder. Our controller does not understand the data we have in our system. It's the model that understands the data. But our controller needs to have a way of communicating with our model so that they can easily work together to have a beautiful application. And we've said that at the process of bringing out that instance, okay, so it's called instantiation, like creating that object of the class, we will load our repository into our controller, and this is what is done here. What we've done is that we've loaded our session repository into this variable called session variable, so that this our session repository it's not available to us in the controller, because this session repository connects to our database, and we've now brought it into our controller. So it means that from our controller, we can easily connect to our database through this session repository. And this session, remember, this session repository is only tied to the session entity. You cannot use this session repository to connect to teacher's record. No, it's each repository, each table.
Each record.
Yes, so that's how we see on our repository, we have the results repository, which is mapped to the results table. We have the school, which is mapped to the school table. We have the session, which is mapped to the session. We have the student class, which is mapped to the student class. We have the student. So anyone you know you want to use as a developer. Okay, let's say for this code, I need the teacher record. You're going to import the teacher repository into the controller and use that to access the teacher's table. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, it does.
That doesn't make sense.
Not really.
Not really. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused. Okay, that's fine. So when we're creating our entity, we said each entity will map to a database table. You get, so that's why on our entity we have we have results. This result is mapping to this result. Yes, leave this one. This messenger, this two first table, the doctrine migration is Symfony's own table. The messenger message is Symfony's own table, which I'll explain later. Where our table starts from is the results. So this results in the entity is mapping to this result. When I mean map, like, so this result is calling this table or is linking to this table. This school entity is linking to this school. This session is linking to this session. Students to this student. Student class to this student. Now, because this student class session is a many-to-many relationship, they are both available in the student and the student class. So Symfony will not create for you. So for many-to-many relationship, Symfony will not create for you a new file because you can access them from within either the student or the class objects. You can access them from inside because they're like, so for many-to-many, they're equal. No one is like more preferred than the other. They're equal, so you can access them from in between. The subject is mapping to the subject class, the teacher to the teacher, and the term to the term. So what it means is that now, if I want to work on a result, or let's say if I want to work on the school database, I will work with the school entity. Or if tomorrow they tell me that there's a problem with the school database, something's happening, they're trying to add new school record that is not coming, I will just come and look at the school entity. My business should be at the school entity, not the session, because the session is working, the student is fine, it's the school that have issues. So I'll just go, okay, which table or which logic maps to this table? And I'll come and, oh, it's the school that maps to this table. Then under the school, each of this entity is mapped to a repository. So look at this stuff now. So for every entity here, there's a repository file that corresponds to the entity. So this like results has a result repository. School has a school repository. Session has a session repository. Student has a student repository. Yeah, that's student repository. Student class has a result repository. Subject has its repository. Teacher has its repository. And term has. Now what's the difference between entity and repository? Now, what entity contains the structure of our database, of our table? Repository allows us to query that table. So this is the way Symfony connects. Your controller will connect to your repository. Your repository will connect to your entity. Your entity is mapped to your database. You can see it now. Your controller will connect to your repository. The repository connects to your entity. Your entity is connected to your database. So you can see how Symfony gets your data through the cycle. You get it in the head. That's why for here now, because we're working on the session, we need the session repository. Now this session repository will connect to our session entity. And this session entity is connected directly to our session database. That's how we can get the data from here directly with ease without doing anything.
So in a layman's language.
Yes, sir.
School repository takes information from school
Yes.
entity.
Yes.
And school entity takes information from database.
Yes.
School database.
Yeah, exactly. School table. School table.
School table, sorry.
Yes, school table.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you want to work on the school, if you want to get record from the school, you have to import the school repository. Because that school repository is mapped to the school entity. And that school entity is mapped to the school table.
Okay.
So if you want to work with the students, let's say you want to get student information, you have to get the same information from the student repository.
Repository.
Because that student repository is mapped to the student entity. And the student entity is mapped to the student's table.
Yes, table.
So that's the connection we're doing. So what you are doing here is that Symfony knows that you are getting information from the session repository. Now this session repository is, so let me show you how this session repository is mapped to the session. So let's look at this session repository. Now, you see the session repository, it says that it is mapped to the session. The thing is that service entity repository is taken from this session. So at this point, it is mapping this session to this repository. So when you call this repository, it is calling the session class. So Symfony is mapping it behind the scene for you. Then if you look at this school repository, it is mapped to the school. You see it now. Results is mapped to the results. Then teacher is mapped to the teacher. So Symfony is handling that mapping behind the scene for you. But just understand the flow at which data flows in a Symfony project. So the controller does not know the table, but the controller wants to get the table record. The controller passes through the repository. The repository is mapped to the entity. The entity is mapped to the table. With that mapping, the controller cannot get the data at the table level through those three mappings. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
You see it now. So exactly. So you see the way Symfony is just handling it for you, making it easy for us to get data. So when we are getting this data, we're saying it is 3, it is 2. Symfony is passing through those structure. It gets the repository, it calls the entity level. The entity level calls the database. The database gives you the results, and the controller sees the results. Guess what I'll do now is that. So when class short, let me see if there's any question. What I'll do is I will just take the next 1 hour to compile all the videos. Then I will send it like in the next 30 minutes. I'll make it available from the first class to the one we're doing today. I'll just send all the videos. I'll make it available. So, Professor, do you have any question? I know you joined it anyway, Sharp. But goodness, do you have any question?
To be sincere, I'm kind of lost, but I know with the video, if I go through them, I will have ideas, and then I will have questions to ask. For now, there's no question to be said.
That's fine. I know when you go to the video, you know, say I don't know the answer all the questions where the answer that says now. I don't know become developer. So Ada, is there any question from your side?
No.
Right? It's clear now.
Yes, sir.
So the next class, Mr. Mr. Ogu, let's have a did next class. Will you work with Mr. Ogu, you work through the students controller, right? Wow. So Mr. Ogu, what I will do is
Ada is here now, the programmer.
No, wait, no.
What to do, because I know that because the reason why I want to make this link available as soon as possible, I'll give everybody like 1 week to study this stuff. So immediately after the class now, I'm going to do the conversion, make from the day 1 to now, make it available on the group. Then Mr. Ogu, we're agreeing that on the next week Saturday, I'll be programming, but you'll be directing me on how to link the students. Now I want to get student information. Now, okay, this is it now. I want to get this record. This record, I want to get it from the controller level. So you work on how we will get this stuff.
Okay.
So after you walk us through, I'll be doing the one, but you'll be directing me. But I'll be the one doing the code, and I'll share my screen. Then Ada will not direct us on how I will get the term level. I want to get the term from the controller. So that would direct us. Then Bros OZ will not take us through the teacher, the subject. I want to get this subject ads for my controller. You get
Okay.
yeah. So in order to make sure that I think we have like 7 days to just go through exactly. So I'll be able to get all the subjects in the school, the particular subject with the ID, we defined and everything. So we're able to get that level. So basically, let's understand how from our controller we can get record from our database. From our controller, which is like the high level, we can get record from our low level, which is the database. So we must get our pipeline connection right. So Mr. MD, you start first with students, then Ada will start with them, then procedure will start with subject, then goodness will follow. But I'll make sure that this whole stuff is available like in the next 1 hour after this class.
Okay, thank you.
So Ada, we agree now. Procedure, we agree now.
Yeah, by his by grace, we
started not have prayers, Dre. You don't have prayer, Dre.
I need to be fair. I need to be fair in this because I've not really been following up. So if I go through the video,
yes. So the thing is, so we started. So just go through. If you go through because I think I've done the teacher. I've done the teacher. Today I did the session now. So if you go through those 2 last videos, you'll see the similarities. It's the same basically. It is the same concept, the same flow. It's just for you to know which repository you want to work with and get the data from that repository.
Okay.
It's the same basically.
All right.
So at that we have a deal now.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a deal now. So next week I'll be doing more of the typing, just following your instructions basically. So any instruction that give me, I go follow and we go test them. If error there, we go find it, we go do them together. So next week I'll be doing more of, I'll just be following you guys and say, what should I do? Mr. Go tell me, okay, do like this, I will do it. We'll test it, and that will tell me to do like this. No. So let's have an interactive class basically. So if you can see, if you can, so basically I want us to be able to see how best we can begin to get data first from our database. As soon as we now understand how to get data from our database, then we can see how we can begin to process this data to the end users. Remember, this data we are getting from the database, it is raw data. We will know how to give the users all this data. We want to filter some things out. We want to do some cleanup. We want to package data. We want to give it in the way that the users will understand this data. Like for example, now on our local system, session is 0 and 1. The user does not understand that 1 represents active, 0 represents not active. Because the user is not computer literate. We as developer, we understand the fact that 1 is active, 0 is not active. Because we are developers, we understand computer. But the user can be a teacher that teaches CROK that is not computer literate. So you have to make that so we have to now convert this 0 and 1 into something that the layman will understand as active and inactive. So this data we're getting, at the high level of controller, we will then refine the data and make it available and easy to understand for everybody. But for now, let's just understand that how best we can get data. So we've done our model, we've mapped our model, we've added data into our model, but then let's understand how we can get this data from the controller. So as soon as we get data from the controller, on the controller level, we'll now begin to add some cleanup to this data. Then we'll pass it to the view that will display it to the user. So anybody can use, even a baby can use your system. It does not want to understand 0, 1. They will just be pressing, press this. We make it very simple at that controller level for the view to just get data and just show the baby. So you get it now.
So we are moving to the front end.
Huh?
We are moving to the front end.
Yeah. So as soon as we understand how to, so the work now is now let's understand how we can get this data from our database. Yes, so let's play with it. Let's understand it. As soon as we can get data from our database, we're not going to move into how best we cannot present this data. Because now we're getting the data here. But this is not how we give the data to the user. This is our own programming logic. But we now have to give this data in a very beautiful format that you'll see, wow, this website is fine. Yeah, so this data will now give it to the user in a beautiful structure that will be very easy for them to just play with it. So you see that, so small, it will be making sense. We'll build the application small. But for now, let's make sure that we know how to get the right. So if we're looking for the right data, let's say for example, we're looking for data that concerns students, we know how to get it. We're looking for data that concerns results, we know how to get it. So that's my concern. And that's what I'm saying. Let everybody come together and say, okay, let's say for example, I want to get data. Somebody's asking for data that concerns teachers. Okay, how do I get the data? If you can know the how, then you see that you solve like 30%.
It's
Yeah,
done.
then when you get exactly when you get the data, you now say, okay, how best can I present this data to the user that's asking it, that to be easy for them to understand the data? Very easy for them. Exactly. So it's small. Yeah. So we have a dinner. We have a dinner, B.
Yes. We have a deal.
So, yeah, so that we have a deal. But also we have a deal.
And I don't go to
But
night
me, I
vigil on
don't know how
Friday.
to get our own thing.
And I
Guess
don't
what?
go to night vigil on Friday.
Ah?
I don't go to night vigil on Friday.
Okay.
So what do you say just now? You say you don't know how to get.
I want the same. So
No.
how do I get?
So that's why I said I'll make the video available. Watch the video. When you watch the video, mostly watch this video. Watch this video, last week video, and the previous week. So like the last 3 videos talked about how to get data from the repository basically. So like this video, the last 3 videos I'll be saying, it talks about. So when you look at the way I got data from the teacher, the way I got data from the session, you will now begin to understand how to get data from the term. And don't worry, we will do it together. Maybe the thing is that when you are directing us and something goes wrong, I will explain to you why this thing went wrong. So we'll learn it together. Don't worry, it may not be perfect. That's not a problem. So I just want us to be involved in the process, basically, not just me just taking you through. So let us also be involved in the process. You understand? It's not perfect, but we'll get to that state of perfection. It's a process. It is a process.
Okay.
But first thing I will do is that I will make sure that in the next 1 hour, all the videos are available. So that at least we'll have like 7 days to go. So there will not be any. We'll have like time to go through the stuff. There will be like, so there won't be any rush. So, but that 7 that's available, just look at the last 3 videos. Will tell you how to use a controller to get what you want to the database. But if you want to look at others, it's fine. But the last 3 videos talks about how from a controller level you can get access to the database that you're looking for.
Thank you very much.
Yes, okay, sir. Okay, bro, so said now. So
All right,
next week, I will just relax and nobody guide me through. Nobody walk me through.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know night vigil on Friday.
I don't go to next video. Aha. So let me stop recording. Let me stop sharing and stop recording.
All right.
Okay, bro. So everybody have a lovely.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
now. Yeah.